Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the planning board meeting for May 21st, 2024. I'm Carrie Marnick, chair of the planning board. Before we get started, I have a few announcements to read. This open meeting of the planning board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during a state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the planning board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the planning board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. I'll now confirm board members in person anticipated on the agenda are remotely present and can be heard by stating the following. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bill Pierce?
Here.
Anthony Zaitin?
Here.
Amy Pretsky?
Here.
And Millie Milton. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirm. Did I hear you, Millie? Did you say here?
Yep.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lord Connors?
Here.
Great. Okay, ground rules for the meeting. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board will be conducted by roll call vote. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comments as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please note part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click raise hand at the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized by the chair. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of public commentators, the chair will call on each by name and afford approximately 3 minutes for comments. No executive session this evening, so with that, why don't we get started? The first item on our agenda is the continued public hearing for consideration of the application for site plan approval submitted by the town of Northborough for the construction of a new 30,000 square foot plus or minus fire station and associated improvements at the property located at 61 and 65 West Main Street. Map 63, parcels 9 and 10, and 10 Monroe Street, map 63, parcel 7, in the Downtown Business District and Groundwater Protection Overlay District Area 3. So I'm going to bring in our presenters. Let's see. And Lori, is Nicole, looks like Nicole's on the team.
Yeah. So it should be Dave Parenti,
Yeah. Janet, is Janet on the team?
Janet,
Okay. And Jim?
yep, Jim,
Yes, Jim.
and Henry.
No,
Is
Henry,
Henry on your team? No.
no. Is it just
Yeah,
Dawn?
Amy's already there. Mark coming in tonight, Amy?
Mark is not joining, but Jim should be here, I believe.
Oh, Jim, yep, okay. And then Dawn, I'm assuming ran for fire station committee? Dawn, yes, Dawn?
She may be there. She told me she wasn't going to be in tonight, but she may have come.
Okay, she can decide to come on. Let's see. Oh, no, she doesn't. Dawn doesn't look like she wants to be a panelist, so we will let Dawn, please feel free to raise your hand if you change your mind and want to come on board at all. Okay, great. Welcome back, everybody. When we last left off, we took a look at the plan and we had some items that were going to be looked at for revisions and then come back tonight and take a look at what those revisions consist of. So if you want to start there with the revisions from last time, that might be a good place to go.
Okay, yeah, I can go through the plans that were revised.
Great.
Is my screen sharing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we did submit revised plans on May 14th and written responses to all the comments we had received. So for the plan revisions, I'll just go through them kind of one at a time. Yeah, one of the comments was we weren't showing the existing utilities on the 100 scale plan, and those have been added to the plan. Yeah, to the overall plan, so we do have that covered now. Next comment was regarding the the crosswalk. Originally, we were talking about removing this crosswalk. And based on the discussion, we've decided to keep that, leave that as is. So we've taken it out of the demolition plans. We had a comment on marking the public parking. What we did over in this area. But we've added a public parking sign at the entrance to the public parking. And then we have marked 6 of the spaces will be reserved for the fire department use. So we have marked those with signs. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. Well, those will be restricted just for fire department, but then there'll be, I believe it's 30 spaces open to the public. And of those 30, 3 of them are ADA accessible. And then there's also 4 EV charging. So the ADA spaces and the EV charging will be shared by the fire department use and public use. Rating plan. Yeah, so there was we had to raise the curb height along the east side at these entrances, so we've raised that to 7 inches. And we have also, there was some discussion about revising the grading along the hillside grill property, and we have, since the fire chief and DPW director have discussed this with the property owners. So we've discussed, it's not finalized yet, but we have discussed doing some grading on their property, and that lowers the height of this wall along the west side of the property to about 20 feet. So it's significant reduction in wall height, and then we also did the grading between the 2 properties. Did have a question on the landscape plans.
Any questions from the board?
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Are you saying that the abutting property has agreed to the grading plans that you guys are doing?
It's been discussed with them. I know the chief did discuss it with them, and yeah, I think there was positive response. I don't think there's any final formalized commitment from on either side, but it has been discussed, and it seemed beneficial to both sides. So they seem.
Okay.
How high is the wall if it doesn't get brought down to 20 feet? I wasn't sure. I know it's 30 feet on the back.
Yeah, it was
But,
30 feet in the back corner, and it would have stayed up at 30 feet and tapered down on this side, but it tapers down much quicker. So in this corner where the parking is, it's about 20 feet high right in this.
And how far does it taper down as it gets to the road? Does it go down?
Yeah, basically
Okay.
tapers down to really nothing, and then just a couple of feet high, and then the grading takes over.
So you
like in
wouldn't
this
have to,
corner,
sorry, you wouldn't
Yeah,
have
on
to
this-
do anything with the pre-existing sidewalk, or you would?
with the existing sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we're showing the existing sidewalk. The proposed sidewalk is right along the roadway.
Right.
When you say existing, do you mean the hillside grill existing sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're not showing anything on our plans for that. We did see in the draft order of conditions, there was a condition where we'd be required to extend the sidewalk down to the driveway. And I think we'll discuss that tonight, but we haven't changed our plans for that yet. But,
Okay.
But if that's an order of conditions, that would.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, is that a crosswalk right in the front too? So there's a crosswalk
Oh,
in front, because I know Fred had asked questions about crosswalks, and I see one right there. So there's
no, this is just repaving for utility connections. So
Oh,
we aren't adding additional crosswalks. We're just going to keep that existing one.
okay.
So originally you were going to discuss crosswalks with Fred. So that's what you discussed with Fred, and he also thought that was fine?
Yeah, we discussed just keeping that one, because at the time he made the comment, you know, we were calling for removing that one, and we discussed it with our traffic people, and they felt it was
Okay.
good to keep it. And
Which
But-
one? Can you point out where the crosswalk is? It's over by Avidia, is that?
yeah, it's down by the bank.
Okay. So there's
Yes.
no crosswalks in front of the fire station. That's what I was.
No, there won't be one in front of the fire station. We were thinking it was too close for the mid-block crosswalks. You know, they're not, it's not in an intersection, so it was kind of the traffic engineers try to limit those.
Mhm.
Because they can be, you know, they can disrupt traffic, they can be a little more dangerous.
While this was up, I noticed, Fred had a comment about lining up the driveway with
Mm.
the driveways across the street. Did you guys work that out?
Yeah, so that was on the draft order of conditions, and we did want to discuss that tonight. And that's in this area, so it's, you know, here's where our driveway is now. We haven't done any revisions to the drawings, and here's where that Dunkin' Donuts, one of the Dunkin' Donuts driveways is. There's
Mhm.
actually 3 driveways that serve Dunkin' Donuts. There's this one here. This one here, I think, is an exit, and then
Yep.
right at the edge of the page, there's another one, I think is the exit for the drive-through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And, you know, we're kind of lined up offset from this driveway here, and that's what the comment was. They'd like to see it straightened out, and we can make it happen. We just didn't think the alignment was great, so we have to put a little bit of a turn. We want to hit at 90 degrees to West Main Street, so we kind of have to come in like that and then cut back to get back to our parking area. And it was a little bit awkward. It could be done, you know, if it's required. We were hoping to wait until we got to the Mass DOT permitting stage and discuss it with them, and then if they recommend it, then we would follow through with it. But we felt if they don't really feel it's necessary, then maybe it'd be better to keeps our alignment a little bit better in and out from our site.
So Lori, any insight on why Fred suggested the non-emergency driveway access should be aligned with the driveway across the street? Do we know why he wanted that?
Yeah, he and I discussed it. Personally, I like to see driveways offset. So I did question him why he wanted it to be directly across from this driveway. And he thought that there would be a significant enough volume of traffic going in between the 2 facilities. And he was also concerned about the cross movements and the potential for collision.
Mm.
So if somebody was to cross the double line in order to go into the fire station versus cross the double line to go into the Dunkin' Donuts, and they weren't paying attention, he was concerned that they might collide.
And did his reasoning change your mind, or you still like the offset?
Well, he's the engineer, so he's probably more expert on that than I am, so I defer to him.
Got it. Okay.
Did
Yeah.
you happen, Jim, did you happen to discuss that with your traffic engineer?
We didn't really in detail yet discuss it with our traffic engineer. You know, he had reviewed our plans, and he was fine with it before. We didn't after we got the comment. We weren't able to get a hold of him. Discuss it after we got the comment.
Is that something we can add, Lori, as a condition that we have a traffic engineer? Because safety is definitely a key
Yeah.
component of our site plan. So we'd want to make sure the access ways are, checked by a traffic engineer.
Traffic
I
study.
could, although I don't currently have the funding. So unfortunately, I had to exhaust my my consultant account on another project. So I don't have the funding. So that would be something that the fire department would have to fund.
Mhm.
I noticed in your decision, though, it did talk about, what is it, the 59G?
Yeah, so right now we're in a state of flux, as Dave knows. So Fred, originally it was envisioned that the assistant DPW director would provide us with the engineering services, but that position is currently vacant. And Fred Litchfield retired a year ago. Believe it or not, he's still working for us on a consultant basis. But we don't know how long that's going to last. I know he is applying for other consultant positions that provide more hours. So if we have the ability to do the inspections in-house, then certainly we won't have to avail ourselves of the engineering consultant. But if we don't have anybody to fulfill that role, then we would have to hire a consultant to do that. So that is the purpose of that. I kind of left it loosey-goosey, saying that inspections would be done either by a staff engineer or a consulting engineer.
What about, doing this traffic impact study or this driveway impact? Like, I think it is super important to have a traffic engineer look at.
I wonder if maybe Pear, so they're a very well-known traffic engineering firm. So I wonder, because this is a town project being paid for with town funds, we could just have a traffic engineer from Pear look at it and supply a recommendation.
Yeah, we can certainly do that if that's acceptable to you.
As long as the town engineers accept it, like, too. Usually, like, if we get and something from the applicant, we also have the town review it. So it's tricky with this application because the applicant is the town. So I don't know how everybody feels or how Lori feels or how Fred would feel just to have one person review it. I mean, if it is a traffic expert, then maybe it's okay.
Yeah, I have had a lot of experience with the traffic engineers from Pear. And I find them to do really quality work. And because they're working for the town, I would expect that they would give, their opinion would be based on protecting the town. So I personally would feel comfortable with that.
Do you
Yeah,
think
and
it'd be okay if they also talk to Fred? Because I hate to override the town engineer. Also, like, if they don't, like, maybe they could talk too. That could be part of the condition that Fred is in agreement.
And there will also be the Mass DOT review of all the curb cuts, so they do have to approve those also. So they want it aligned, we would say.
Okay, anything else there?
Yeah, we did on the landscape drawings, we did add some revisions too. We changed the fence to 5 feet high. And we also added some detail for the dumpster enclosure. So we're proposing this block and brick structure with solid gates.
Can you show where the, is there a monument of something? Can you show, was there a monument or? That up there, the memorial image where that is?
Oh.
Exactly, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, let's see. This memorial, so on the plan, maybe at the front of the site. Yeah, so memorial will be right here at the
Oh, okay.
entrance.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, I see it now. I got it. Thank you.
And I believe that's the, the significant changes that we made to address the comments.
I know we can't see everybody, but I just saw the chief had his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Chief, do you have something you want to add there?
No, Carrie, I was just going to point out that that's the memorial that is currently sits on the corner of Church and Pleasant.
Okay,
At the and you spoken with the Eagle Scout project that was, and he's all for moving it. And I just need to finally, hopefully, connect with the Outmaster. Hope we can do that Memorial Day, 'cause we're walking with each other,
Hmm.
and just get their approval, and then we'll just our intent is to move it. I think we would get much more traffic as opposed to where nobody sees.
Okay.
okay, so there were also, I see you also submitted responses to comments. And then on top of that, Fred had his comments, based on your comment. So did you have a chance to see what Fred submitted? Is that the right order? Did I get that order right? It looks
Yeah,
like,
we saw Fred's original comments, and we did discuss them with him, and then we sent in a written response. I don't believe we've seen a response to our comments. Or response.
I'm sorry, I thought I sent those over. I can send them over now. The few outstanding comments were included as conditions of approval, and I know I definitely sent the conditions of
Yes.
approval, the draft
Yes.
conditions over
Okay.
for them to review.
okay, so Laura, you had this all covered.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we do have the draft conditions of approval. There was a few of them that we'd like to discuss, but most of them were.
Okay, well, any other board questions? So, and design review also had a letter. Let's see, it looks like the consideration of a protective structure over the door. Is that something that's not built? Is that built into the plan at this point or not in the plan? Or thoughts on that?
I did
Um,
not include that as a condition of approval. I figured that would be something that would be discussed. I know that there was quite a bit of discussion about it during the design review committee meeting. So I'm sure Amy, her hand is up.
yeah,
She would like to speak to
Oh,
that.
sure,
Yeah,
sure. Go ahead, Amy.
hi, we do have, on the drawings, we are calling for, snow guards on the roof, any of the sloping roofs. So there would be, both pipe rails and pad style snow guards that would, prevent snow from sliding off quickly and causing any issues below.
We've
Did you
also
also say that the doorway is set
Yes,
in from the building?
that's
4 feet deep.
correct. Yep, the doorway is set back 4 feet from the facade, so someone steps into the protected covering before they open up the door.
I could also speak to the design review concerns. Like, I know there are snow guards, and I think there are snow guards on top of 4 West Main Street too. But when there's a big snow storm, they still had to put up all sorts of scaffolding, and it's concerning because there are metal roofs, even though there's snow guards. I was up at UNH once, and they had to put fencing and signs around, be careful, because
Hmm.
when the snow slid off, it was like could have killed someone.
Yeah.
And I did drive around and take pictures of structures. I went up to the Westboro Fish and Wildlife, and they have roofs, similar metal roofs that slope this way, and they had a building that jetted out over the roof. Like, part of their building jets out over the walkway. So the way it's designed now is there's like how many feet that you can scurry into. But if you happen to be scurrying into the little entranceway and the snow slides off the metal roof, the design review committee thought it was a concern. And I mean, it's up to the fire station building committee and the designers. I don't want to force them to do something, but I did find it a concern, and the other design review committee members did. So we just wanted to point it out.
Okay, board thoughts on that?
I think that makes sense. I mean, certainly don't want to have an issue with that.
Great.
Okay, so do we feel like the guards are adequate or?
I still think it's a concern, but
Hmm.
just because of the problems we've had in the past with the scaffolding and on the town hall. And I did
Right.
drive around to a lot of buildings, and the way this roof is facing, it angles down towards the door, towards the front. I'm not sure how far the overhang is, how far out the snow would slide off if it did go off over the little protection.
The walkway.
Yeah.
The door is recessed back in 4 feet, and then the roof overhangs another about a foot. So there's a 5-foot area of protection for someone as they're going into the building.
Oh,
But
really just a foot though, because you'd have to scurry into where it is, it recesses in. It doesn't really go out.
So how high are the snow guards that are on the top of the roof? How tall are they?
I don't know that answer off the top of my head. What we do is we work with the manufacturer who engineers it based on the location, the orientation of the building, the slope of the roof material. They look at all that. They look at the average snow loads for the geographic location, and then they make a recommendation for the layout. And then we typically go beyond what they recommend so that they're sort of belt and suspenders. Typically, they only recommend putting either the pipe rails or the pad style snow guards, and we usually do both of them so that there's extra friction to protect or prevent the snow from sliding.
Okay. Are we thinking
How
that?
high are the pads? Like, are they 12 inches or 24 inches, or you don't know?
The pads are not that tall. So the pads are typically installed in sort of a scattered pattern across the roof. And they recommend certain distances between them. And those are relatively short. And the purpose of those is to create some friction to prevent the snow from sliding. And then the pipe rails are taller. And I don't have a cut sheet in front of me to know exactly whether they extend up a foot or what, but they go at the perimeter of the roof. Sometimes they recommend that there are multiple rows of them going up the roof, again, to create friction and to create a barrier for the snow. We have not worked with the manufacturer yet to come up with a recommendation for the exact layout, but that is something that we typically do during the design phase.
I mean, I think, if we knew what that height would be, right? It's a big difference between 2 inches and a foot, right? And so if we could find out what that is, I think we could make a better decision as to what the recommendation should be,
Okay.
at least in my mind.
So if you happen to catch that while we're here, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, actually.
Okay, well, you're looking that up. Lori, at the last meeting, you sent a letter to DPW for the snow removal piece. I think it was also mentioned in the design review letter. Did we get anything back from DPW on that?
No, just the fact that we discussed that it would be a maximum of 8 feet of snow storage, and then any excess would be removed off-site. So previously, the DPW director said that he's fine with the snow removal plan. He had no issues.
Okay. Amy, was there something different to this comment?
Well, we just wanted it in writing because I've learned from other applications, if it's not in writing, then somebody comes back and says, well, that's not in the decision. It might be different because this is the town, but I didn't think, I thought it'd be quick and easy just to get a memo from him stating that he didn't have issue removing the snow if there was, a biggest snow event. How the apron on the front of the building, is that 65 feet from the road to the building now, to the doors? Janet, do you know? Or,
From the road, edge of the road?
yep. I think it's about 65 feet, but you see how it has all the dots on it now? Does that mean that whole area is now going to be heated?
No.
That's the concrete, so that'll be a concrete apron as opposed to the gray over here that's bituminous.
Yep. So it just means it's concrete.
Yep.
Do you know how many feet of that will be heated?
If I could, it's 10 feet on both the front apron and the rear apron is what we have discussed with the department.
I was just thinking because we were talking snow removal, so I didn't know if all those dots meant you were gonna heat the whole 65 feet.
Okay, let's see. Anything else, Amy, from design review? I think that's what's on the letter here.
I don't have the letter in front of me. I just know that it seems a little tight. We had concerns about the height of the wall and the whole site itself being pretty tight. But I
I
think
have the letter if you'd
Okay.
like. So the first comment is a recommendation to waive having the grass strip in between the sidewalk and the roadway, Route 20. The second issue is about the wall, safety and aesthetics. We appreciate the fence was adjusted to be 5 feet tall, but overall the wall is a concern. The third comment is the site looks tight for snow storage. We would recommend a letter from DPW agreeing to snow removal if necessary, and also would request review of the water retention diversion systems to make sure they are optimal for the site. So both Fred and Vinny have been looking at the stormwater systems, and there are some conditions related to comments received from those individuals. And number 4, we discussed adding a protective structure over the door. So that's what we've already discussed. So just those 4 comments.
Okay. Amy, anything else from your perspective?
No, we had other comments, but the fire station building committee had made their decision, so we couldn't go backwards. So those aren't even probably worth going into. This is the design that was brought forward to us.
Okay. Okay, there was also, Lori, there was a suggestion of a condition of approval with the sidewalk, so I think that has been incorporated.
It has. So I included it on the draft decision under the list of waivers.
Okay, great. That's great. The last time we met, Bill, you brought up a great point about that warning light. Is that something still of consideration when you're coming up from the Bill? I don't mean to speak for you, but it sounded like you were thinking on the other side of Dunkin' Donuts, so the people coming up kind of get a warning. There's a light there. What do you still have that as something of interest or thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. People coming eastbound on Route 20. This building is right on that corner. And so, having some type of warning system saying, red light ahead, so that, people aren't going 40 miles an hour and all of a sudden come up to a fire truck that's pulling out of the station.
Is there a signal that's going to be right in front of the doors?
Well, that's right in front of the doors. My concern was the people coming around that corner won't see the signal in time.
Okay. That sounds fair.
Oh, Anthony, that's right. So, what we had talked about, I don't know, Bill mentioned on Route 9, do you know, like if you're coming towards, I think it's by Target, like there's a light on Route 9 and you get that signal ahead. So you're coming up that hill, you can't see it well, or you wouldn't know there's a light there if you weren't used to the road. So it just kind of gives you that warning.
Makes sense.
So was there consideration to that, after our discussion last time, or?
Yeah, so that's something we're gonna work out with Mass DOT on when we permit the signal, and any kind of advanced warning that they require will certainly provide. We kind of go by what their regulations state, based on the site distances, whether it's required or not. They don't like to add too much signage. They don't like if it's not warranted, they don't want to add the sign, but if it is, they'll make it.
I wonder if we add in a condition like we had something for the soccer with the parking, like, you know, should there be concerns like within the first year of operation, then we'll go back and look at it with the engineers and add in a light. Say the Mass DOT says, I don't see a problem. But as a town, all of a sudden we're having problems. We've had conditions in the past that we'll go back and revisit it and add the necessary tools we need, whether it's the sign that says, you know, be careful, red light ahead.
Yeah,
Well, we are
unfortunately,
kind of limited because remember, this roadway is under Mass DOT ownership and jurisdiction. So we can't require signs. I mean, they have to approve those.
Mm-hmm. And so if there's a problem, then I guess the town would go back to Mass DOT and say, no, you said we don't need this sign, but we're having a problem.
yeah, I've learned from the traffic safety committee that there's actually a specific number. Unfortunately, there's a specific number of accidents that have to happen and be reported before they'll change any lights or signs. So, and then, you know, like Lori said, it's going back to them and convincing them that a sign is needed. So that's why I sort of want to get this out there in front now. You know, even if we have to make the request saying, you know, can we please have a light for people
How
coming
about
around that corner?
If it were a condition that says, subject to Mass DOT approval, a sign warning of a signal ahead shall be installed in the eastbound direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that also have to be added to the bid documents that they look into it? Like, there's nothing in our conditions that talk about that special light. Should there be a condition that we talk about the special light at all? Like,
Well, again, like Lori said, there's nothing, we can't do anything. We can't put it in as a condition because there's nothing we can regulate, right? That's regulated by Mass DOT.
I'm just wondering, some of Fred's conditions say make sure it's in the bid document. So the discussion about this condition to add the extra light to be discussed with Mass DOT, does that also have to be added into the bid document so they see it, or they're going to look at all the conditions anyways?
Ideally, they will have already received their approval from Mass DOT before they go out to bid. So that was something that I put into the decision. So I know originally Pear had responded that the construction team would be required to get the Mass DOT approval. And I know that Fred feels strongly that that's not appropriate, that Pear should be the one to apply for the Mass DOT approval because it's largely an engineering exercise. So
And that is our intent. We will get that approval. Yeah, PAR will work with Mass DOT to get that approval before the construction documents go out. So it'll all be included in the construction documents.
Okay, so other comments before we move on? It sounds like there were some questions about conditions on the applicant side. So if there are further, or actually, why don't I, any further questions or comments from board members?
I have one, and it's just an opinion, I think, at this point, is that entrance for the public parking where it's situated between two exits coming out of Dunkin' Donuts, which is pretty high volume. I can think of a street if you're familiar with Davis on West Main Street, if you're taking a left or even a right out of there, right across the street is an exit to a commercial building. And I have to take that to get home a lot of the time. And I can tell you, it's really dangerous. There's two people kind of coming out at the same time. You don't know where, sometimes they don't have signals on. And this is going to be in between two exits where it's high volume. I think it's going to be problematic.
Do we make it a right turn only coming out of there?
For Dunkin' Donuts?
No, for the fire station.
Oh, for public, yeah.
Right, for the public side.
I guess what did we decide in terms of having a traffic survey of some sort, or did we not?
Right, I think a traffic assessment would be really great to look at that concern that you have, it being in between the two exits.
Yeah.
Personally, I would be really concerned about making it a right turn only, because I know what that means is that people just go to the nearest commercial driveway and they pull a U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
So it causes more traffic problems further down the road, especially on Route 20, because it's very likely that people will want to go left. I
Mhm.
mean, they're probably going to want to go left as much as they're going to want to go right. So then you're going to have all of these people pulling U-turns.
Right turn only is gonna end up with them coming up and trying to turn in the apparatus bay on the apron. Be the
Yeah,
first big spot they hit. That's not a good idea.
yeah.
Okay, and so why is there no traffic assessment on this project? I'm just trying to look through the comments.
I think they're asking for a waiver, but maybe we don't want to waive that because it seems like the most important safety aspect that we had to look at.
Yeah, I can
I-
clarify some. The traffic, there wasn't a traffic impact study done because the fire station really doesn't generate a lot of new traffic. There is traffic, the traffic engineers are working on the project to do the Mass DOT permitting, which includes these curb cuts, openings, the driveway openings, and then also the signal design. So there will be traffic engineers working on those aspects of it, but we were asking for a waiver on the traffic impact analysis because we're really don't feel we're generating a lot of traffic. It's just really the employees and a few people using the public park.
Mm.
Okay, thoughts on that from the board?
I still would want, the town to review, or if it's not going to be us, the traffic input, the traffic assessment of that driveway shooting out there. And whether a right turn would help, because we're not traffic experts. And I do think where it's on a curve, if people are turning left, that might be more dangerous. There's some exits where I could go left, but I go right because I know if I take a left, it's 50-50. A car might hit me on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem like because of the location across from Dunkin' Donuts on the curve, there really needs to be some sort of traffic assessment. And I don't know how we put that in the conditions to make sure it gets done and that it's reviewed so it's not a problem there. We don't want it to come back and say, oh my gosh, the planning approved this and it's a nightmare.
I also think that if they're going to be using some of it for public parking, especially during town events or anything like that, that the fire station itself may not be generating the traffic, but the use of the lots that I think might be available would be a concern.
I don't think we can just, because we say the traffic from the fire department isn't grand, that we can just not have it reviewed.
The part of the scenario is that the traffic across the street is already problematical. And that in itself is a concern, adding even a little bit more of turning and access and exiting right into that area.
Mm-hmm. And where does the road merge along? So right before the driveway, where's the merger of the two roads coming off? Right before Dunkin' Donuts entrance. It's before Dunkin' Donuts entrance or at the Dunkin' Donuts entrance? So sorry, I can't see
Between
the,
the
do you
two,
have
it's
a
between the
view?
two exits.
Yeah.
I can zoom in a little bit.
Oh yeah, I just can't. Okay, so sorry, I can't, all right, there we go. Okay, so the merger of the streets is actually between the two exits. So at the same time, across the street from the driveway is the merger of two lanes.
Yeah.
That's a little messy.
Yeah, I just think site-wise, that's a concern.
Because you always have somebody inevitably who wants to speed past the people going into Dunkin' Donuts. So there's that, the speeder
Yep.
going past that.
Yep.
And there's the merging of the lanes where people also kind of try to speed ahead of anybody that's going slowly.
Right.
And you have
Well,
people
and then,
coming, you have
Go ahead.
people coming eastbound trying to get into Dunkin' Donuts
right.
that
Yeah, I
are
was gonna say the
blocking
same
off the
thing.
fire station entrance. 'Cause
Right.
they
You get,
can't
well,
get
and
in.
not only that, but you get the people coming eastbound that are saying, oh, there's the Dunkin' Donuts, and looking over at the Dunkin' Donuts and not realizing there's a building and cars coming out on the
On
right-hand
the other
side.
side, I think this is tricky.
Tricky spot.
So I agree with Amy that, you know, even though there's no traffic impact from the traffic coming from the fire station, I think having the fire station there is going to have a traffic impact, and that's what really needs to be studied.
Okay, so it sounds like overall the board is not sounding in favor of the motion to waive that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are there other board comments?
I was wondering if the sign was gonna come in front of us. I know the ZBA didn't pass the electronic sign, and the design review didn't see any ideas of what was gonna be there, so I don't know. I think at the last town meeting, there was a bylaw passed that downtown signs will come in front of design review. Now we have like 20 days to review them. So I don't know if that's what they're gonna plan on doing in the future, or if there's a sign design that they have to share right now.
I believe the intent is to just keep the sign that's already been proposed, but without the electronic element.
So it would be brick with like a wood type of sign.
That's the intent right now, is just to keep the same design that we have and keep the signage portion of it with the lettering and all, you know, smaller than is required for a variance by zoning.
Okay. And that's far enough back that you can see when you pull out. I know there are some signs in town that was brick, and I don't know if the sign went all the way to the ground, but there are some areas where there's a monument sign and it blocks your sight view. But this looks like it's far enough back when the cars pull forward, they can see past the sign. I'm assuming.
That's the intent.
How far back is it from the road?
It's about 20 feet back. You know, the intent was so that the you know, when the apparatus is pulling out, they can see clearly in both directions down the road.
Okay. As long as the public can see too.
Yeah,
And they pull
public.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
There wasn't anything about the retaining wall condition. I know we discussed, I think Lori, you had brought it up that it would be reviewed by a structural engineer. Do we need any sort of condition about the wall being reviewed? Or that's just a given? Because it's so high?
I thought I put that in there, but let me just double check.
I might have missed it too. There were a lot. I tried to review them all today. And we can always discuss the decision too, right, at the next meeting, or sometimes like we have so many days to review it one last time to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Mhm.
No, I guess I missed it. I can add that.
There's another question with it I had where Fred, you just have to find it. I can come back if someone else has a question. I just want to find it. It was something Fred had asked to have.
Do you need his comments on top of the comments or?
Fred asked for the permeability test be performed with the results submitted prior to the issuance of the building permit.
That is
Right.
condition L.
Yeah. Okay. There was something that from Fred, I'll have to review it and go back to it. There was something where it was he wanted it before something, and then we had it in as after. So I'll find it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, any additional board member questions or comments while Amy looks that up?
Are we just limiting these comments to the site plan, or are we going to get into the land disturbance and conservation questions?
So I did put a general comment because I knew that there were some outstanding questions with the land disturbance permit. So if you look under condition A, I say that they shall comply with all of the regulations and obtain all necessary permits and approvals, including a land disturbance and stormwater management permit. And then under B, I say prior to construction activity, the applicant shall submit a final set of plans with the same revision date for town staff review and approval and incorporation into the bid documents, all comments from all approvals, including the land disturbance permit, shall be addressed in the final set of plans. So that was my attempt to address outstanding issues with the stormwater permit.
Okay, so if we have questions on the comments that were made about the land disturbance, is that something we're going to eventually get into, or?
So of course that's Vinnie Vignali and the Conservation Commission that would issue the land disturbance permit.
Okay,
So they have jurisdiction over that.
so we'll have a chance to discuss that at some other time.
Well, if you have
Okay.
questions, you should ask them now, but if there are concerns that Vinnie Vignali has, then he'll make sure that they're addressed as part of that permitting process. So I don't think that they need to be addressed here. The important thing is that there will be a final set of plans that will be reviewed by the staff to ensure that all of those outstanding issues are addressed. So Vinnie Vignali will be looking at those plans, Fred, me.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those issues should be addressed by that point.
So Millie, what did you have in mind, just so we understand like what you're thinking there?
Yeah, I guess what I kind of looked through it and read over what the questions, concerns were in existing plans, and it talks about on refers to sheet question number 10, sheet 7-9, I guess, actually number 9, sheet C7.8, and it talks about the catch basin hood details that need to be able to prevent petroleum products and hydrocarbons from entering the pipe. And I guess one of the things, and maybe Chief Parenti, you can address a little bit, is the concern with PFAS getting into some of the groundwater, or the cleaning off of the equipment and things, and having some contamination from PFAS. It doesn't mention those. Is that a concern?
Are you talking about the PFAS that is in the turnout gear?
Yeah, it's used as firefighting, that some stations still use it, some don't.
No. Okay, you're thinking of the AFFF foam. We have already gotten out of that completely. We've gone to a green foam.
Okay.
Several years ago, we got rid of all that.
Okay.
Yep. So we didn't have to deal with it now.
Exactly. So thank you.
Was there anything else there, Millie, you were thinking?
That was the only it, because they mentioned a couple other issues that were, concerns, and I just didn't see that and didn't know if that was something no longer an issue, or something that they weren't going to be addressing.
Okay. Amy, did you find your piece of?
I did.
Okay. So what do you have?
It had to do with comment number 9, and Fred had a comment about the permittability, and Pear said that the permittability tests shall be performed before the issuance of the building permit, which is what is in our conditions. But Fred's comment letter says that prior to the construction. So he said, I understand the infiltration systems have been designed in accordance with appropriate regulations. However, it's been the board's practice to require infiltrations rate be confirmed by permeability in the field prior to construction. because there was a significant failure of a leaching system many years ago. So I just wanted, our condition says before the building permit, Paris said before the building permit. And Fred said prior to construction, but maybe that's the same. But we do have some comments that say prior to construction. So I was wondering if the comment from Fred has to be moved to prior to construction versus prior to building permit.
So number 9 in his original letter dated April 11th, 2024 says prior to issuance of a building permit. So I think when he's talking about construction, he's talking about construction of the building,
Okay, I just want to
not
make
the
sure.
site work.
I
Yeah,
just want to make sure.
yeah, so I made sure that I went with the timeline that he had suggested. It's a standard condition that I put in virtually all the decisions. And he always asks for it prior to issuance of a building permit.
Okay, because this was May 16th and he said prior to construction.
Is there, so he did put it in the later memo that we just got. Is that something of consideration, or prior to construction is essentially the same?
I interpreted it as prior to construction of the building.
But an occupancy, oh, and you need an occupancy permit, but occupancy permit doesn't come till after the building's built.
Right.
Can we just ask him to double check? Because you do have a section prior to construction activity and then another section prior to building permit. I mean, maybe we could just ask Fred quickly which one it is.
I can see if I can call him up right now.
Oh, okay. Put Fred on the line, drag him in here. He loves
Well,
meetings.
while you're doing that, I just communicated with the DPW director and he said he would be happy to drop the memo over what we just.
Oh, awesome. You've cut out for a second though. Are you talking about snow removal?
Yeah, no removal.
Great. All right, we got everybody.
All right, everybody on the line, phone a friend.
Phone a friend at the planning board tonight. Okay. All right, I'm gonna, while Lori's doing that, I'm gonna see if there are any public comments tonight. Any public comments? This is a public hearing and we welcome any comments from the public. Don't see any hands up at this time, so no public comments.
I just have a
think
question for the engineer too. When the drainage comes out from this drainage system, is it flowing under the road into the wetlands across the street? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it will flow into the Mass DOT system, which does eventually get to those wetlands back across the street behind the properties.
Oops. Okay, Chief, did you have something there? It sounds like you're trying to say something. Okay.
I'm waiting for the clock to stop. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. It's noisy here at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
You should hear midnight. Oh my goodness. No, I was just gonna say, I think Jim had some questions he wanted to direct.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
About the conditions, Jim, did you want to talk through, or Lori, did you hear from Fred?
Unfortunately, he didn't answer. I got his voicemail, so I did send him a text,
Okay.
just asking if he could call quickly. That'd be great.
Great.
And just, for the public, I wonder if Jim could just speak to how they enhanced the vegetated buffer to address the comments that were received from 20 Monroe Street
sure, that'd
at the
be great.
last public hearing.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I can call up the landscape drawing. So here's the plan. So the question was from Monroe Street over here. And we did add some more trees up above the retaining wall, which will kind of buffer that area.
Now those trees that where you show the circle, that's full grown, right? Because they're smaller when you first put them in, like.
Yeah, they're they're kind of schematic. I mean, the sizes are all, that'll be planted are all in the planting schedule.
Mhm.
They're kind of schematic there, but they will fill out.
Yep. So they're about 6 feet being planted, but those circles there show about 20 feet of tree when it's up to 20 feet.
Yeah, I'm not the landscape architect isn't on tonight.
Oh, okay. Someone else pointed it out to me, so that's how I know.
Yeah, 6,
So they won't fill out for about 14 years, but there will be trees there, but they start at 6 feet. And when they get to 20 feet, I was told it's probably 14 years from now.
and we will leave, above here, there is some wooded area in this area that we will leave in place. Some trees.
So Amy, when they do a landscape plan,
Mhm.
they space the species to take into account their mature size. Because
Right.
otherwise they would overpack them and crowd them and then the plants wouldn't survive. So usually they give the distance on center
Mhm.
from where the various species will be planted.
Yeah. I guess some people might get confused too, because when they see the tree area around the outside, it looks like they're really big right now, but and not that I'm recommending really big trees right now. I'm just saying that they're
Yeah,
not as
those
big as it might look.
those up there are 12, they're calling for 12-foot height. Pine
Mhm.
tree. So
Okay.
they're decent sized trees when they start, but they,
Okay.
Okay, anything else on the buffer?
So the other question we had was on the sidewalk, extending it to Hillside Grill.
Mm.
There is an order of conditions to extend it about 150 feet. And, while we certainly do, it does add project cost to the project. We'll have to get our surveyor to extend the survey up to that area, do a little additional design work, and then there's, the construction cost for that sidewalk and possibly a small retaining wall because it is kind of steep in that area. So just wanted to confirm that that's really necessary. It does add cost to the.
Right. I'm wondering if we do leave it out, like we have a complete streets grant that I don't think we've used yet, have we, Lori? Like maybe after the fire station or even before the fire station, we could use that complete streets grant to do that little section versus adding to the cost of the fire station project.
I was hoping to use the Complete Streets grant on the Pierce Street project, Pierce and Blake Street project. So I'm not sure if there will be any money left over.
I don't know if I, as a board member, would want to complete the sidewalk over, even though I would want to, but I don't want to add it to the fire station costs.
Usually when they're already mobilizing on site for such a gigantic project, it'll be much cheaper to build as part of that big
Cheaper.
project than it would be to mobilize for 150 feet of sidewalk. So in my opinion, it'll be much more cost effective to do it as part of the fire station project. That's why I made the recommendation.
And I would agree. I would think so.
Yeah.
You've got all the equipment there and for the most part.
I think the other issue too is that, the original plan had the sidewalk going up the hill to Hillside Grill and connecting up there, right? And the concern with that is, you've got a slope. So in the wintertime, that becomes icy. And now that sidewalk basically becomes unusable. So by keeping it at the same level going along Route 20, you're eliminating that slope.
Right, especially for, we had talked about too, like at the design review for ADA compliance too, it makes it tricky to go up the hill.
Right.
But then it also is ending at the Hillside Grove parking lot with no sidewalk there, so.
Yeah, but I think that's the same either way,
Yeah,
right? That's a problem of Hillside's, not of the fire station.
right. I just wouldn't want to add to the price, I feel, but it's up to everybody else.
So,
I figure, when you're talking about a $45 million project, this is pennies comparatively to the overall scope of the project. And like I said, it will be cheaper because they're already installing the sidewalk along along Route 20. So it's
Mhm.
just a matter of going a little bit further.
Did the fire station building committee talk about it at all? I know like Dawn is in the audience and the chief is here. Have you guys talked about this sidewalk extension?
I can speak to that, and the answer is yeah. We had concerns that going off of our site. That this is the site that we have to work on. This is the money that we were planning on. If we start going off of our site, I thought that was going beyond our scope. I wanted to put a sidewalk in there. That's up to the town. The town wants to pay. As we're talking $40 million projects, we're trying to get it down below 40 million. And now we're going to put in potentially more engineering, more potential small wall that has to go there, 154 more feet. Now, it may be small pennies, but I don't know. That's why we had decided to go with your recommendation. Just leave it, just end it at the end.
I kind of agree with that because I just don't want to add anything more to it. Although I feel like I agree with what Lori says, it's easier while they're there, but I know there's already, talk about the price. So I hate to be adding to the price.
I just think also aesthetically, it's fairly unattractive to have a sidewalk that just ends and goes nowhere and could be confusing for people who are trying to use a sidewalk and they don't realize it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, so I have to say, Amy, my concern is just that like our job is to not cost this out and like our job is not about the price. Like we don't get to decide the cost of it, but we should be thinking about like the site plan. Like if we would want that in the site plan, like how do we,
But this isn't part of their site. Like this is off their site. This is the Hillside Grill site.
But,
So
it is allowed to require offsite mitigation. That's something that we've discussed in other projects and required in other projects.
I mean,
I think my
obviously we
other
don't wanna-
concern would be that if you end it here at the fire station, right? People are walking on this sidewalk. Now, to get to another sidewalk, they have to cross Route 20 to get to the sidewalk on the other side. And I think that's going to cause a bigger safety issue, especially on that corner.
I just didn't know if the town should be doing it. Like while the construction crew is there, the town could, pay for the sidewalk versus it being part of this project. I don't know. It's up to everybody else.
I just think that if the town doesn't do it, nobody's going to do it. Because who will do it?
And I don't see Hillside doing another one because they already did one and kind of wasted time, energy, money there. They're like, I don't think we need to do another one.
Anthony, thoughts from you?
Don't really know.
Okay, so the options, and now Jim, you brought this up because originally we talked about, originally the thought was going to be the sidewalk was going to be on the hill, and that was part of the plan, or even that sidewalk. So sidewalk was never part of the plan.
We had talked about connecting, you can see the Hillside Grill sidewalk right here.
Mhm.
And there was like it's probably like 25 or 30 foot long section to connect the two together. But it was kind of awkward. We were able to make it work with ADA grades by raising it up some on the stretch. But it made it kind of awkward sidewalk, and it's just really bringing people to their door. It's not really bringing people down the street. It seemed a little bit odd.
Now, could a MassWorks grant go for that piece of sidewalk, Lori? Because the MassWorks does stuff like that.
No, it wouldn't be worth it to apply. MassWorks is a big source of funding for very large construction projects. And, the cost is probably like 100,000 that
Mm.
you wouldn't apply for a MassWorks grant for that.
Okay, well, I guess, Amy, you are not in favor of a sidewalk extension. Millie, what is your sentiment?
I am.
Bill,
I am.
Anthony?
I would say extended.
Okay, so majority of the board is in favor of extension of the sidewalk. Which is already written in as a condition anyway, Laurie?
It is. I put it in red because I figured you guys would want to talk about it.
And it's in there twice, but once is for design, right? And once is for the build.
Correct.
And were there, Jim, you mentioned a couple of conditions you wanted to talk through. Were there other conditions that you wanted to talk through?
We did kind of want to talk about the one about doing the two permeability tests.
Oh, I can't hear, Jim, we can't hear you anymore, or I can't anyway.
Okay, yeah, so the other one would be, condition L. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit the results of two permeability tests. We wanted to push back a little on this. We did do the design based on test pits that we did out at the site. And based on the soil texture, we were able to determine a Rawls rate that's in accordance with the Mass regs and the Northborough regs. So we felt we did the design in accordance with the regs, and this was a little bit above and beyond. It's not impossible, but same thing. It's a little bit of additional cost where we have to go out there and do test pits again and send one of our engineers out, and then the DPW will have to send an excavator out. So it is a little additional work that we want to push back.
So
So
is it because you just don't want to do two, or that you're willing to do one but not two, or which part of this are you questioning? The whole thing or just the number of tests?
yeah, the whole thing, we already did do test pits out in the areas of the infiltration systems. And we didn't do the permeability testing because it's really not required by the Mass regs or the Northborough regs. What we did is based on soil texture. We had a licensed soil evaluator out there, and they look at the soils and determine the Rawls rate. That determines the permeability of the soil.
Yeah.
Okay, but Fred is saying, well, so I guess, did you notify anybody to have the opportunity to witness the testing, or there was no, it was just done on the side? And I'm not saying it in a nefarious way, just to ask.
Yeah, we notified, the fire department, and also the DPW was doing the test pits. They did the excavators, and we had one of our engineers who's a soil evaluator on this. So we didn't, we probably didn't notify the planning board, but the planner, but we did.
Oh, okay. So Lori, do you have, without really knowing Fred's, I mean, he commented, the thing that I'm a little concerned about is he commented about sins of the past that have come to bite us when we don't do this kind of thing. So do you have a sense of the need for this, or?
Yes, I did talk to Fred about it, and he did feel pretty strongly that this should be a condition.
I wouldn't waive Fred's condition.
Well, I mean, it basically says to clarify assumptions made in the design, so I don't know what those assumptions are, but he's looked at it and said there are some assumptions made of the drainage system design. And I don't know specifically what those were.
I mean, if Fred and the board feel strongly about it, it's not a huge issue.
I wouldn't go against Fred because if something goes wrong, it falls back on us for going against our town engineer. So I would stick with it.
Are there thoughts from board members?
Yeah, no, I agree with Amy.
Yeah, without knowing what his thoughts were on that, I wouldn't have any reason to overrule them.
Yeah, I'd agree as well.
Okay, so it sounds like the board defers to Fred's recommendation there.
And that's all I had to discuss. I don't know if Amy, do you have any other conditions you wanted to discuss?
I don't think so. I don't think there was anything else.
Okay, so at this point then, the only outstanding piece is whether It's the building permit or construction, which, and then we have a letter coming from DPW. For the letter, I think we'd at least need to leave the hearing open for that to be included, so,
We also have to decide if we're gonna add in a condition about, well, we're not waiving the traffic, so what type of traffic assessment? Do we
Mm.
want that as part of a condition, or do we want it before we close our hearing? Do we wanna see the traffic assessment, or do we wanna include it as a condition?
What I could do is I could say prior to construction activities, they will provide this letter from a traffic engineer and possibly a modification. Well, Chris, we already have the condition about a modified site plan.
Mm.
Is it prior to construction, does it come back to the planning board to look at the traffic assessment, or who is gonna look at it and call the shots?
If you want to be the ones to receive that, then certainly I can specify that in the condition. So that would be under B, it would be number 3.
I
okay.
wouldn't mind reviewing it with the,
Or
you
I
know,
could
as
make it a
part of-
complete, that one has to do with modification of the site plan, so I could make it a complete separate condition saying prior to construction activity. A traffic engineer will submit an analysis of the driveway alignment.
an analysis too of like the traffic in the area and any, you know, an assessment of, I don't know, lighting and turning, and hopefully the assessment, someone can relay to him at our concerns about the Dunkin' Donut driveways, the curve.
So really, we just wouldn't be waiving the rules and regs section for a requirement to submit a detailed traffic impact analysis. So I guess that would have to include all of those, all of the above there, not just the assessment on the driveway alignment.
Well, remember that a traffic study typically includes turning movements and traffic count. It's quite an expensive endeavor. So you could still vote on that as a condition, but still require, I mean, as a waiver, but still require a condition requiring an analysis of the driveway alignment. So it wouldn't be a full traffic study, it would just focus on that issue.
Well, they have to do a full traffic impact assessment anyways, right, for that light for Mass DOT?
No, we don't do a full trap because it's just an emergency light, so it's not, it won't require a full trap.
I don't know, we might want the full traffic
So
assessment.
does the alignment piece address all of the other issues that we're worried about there? I'm not sure, just assessing where you should align the driveway gets to the heart of being concerned it's gonna be accident after accident over there.
Mm.
Like, is there a
Right.
solution that would help us give us the data we need to kind of figure out what that looks like there? That's not, and if, I don't know if alignment's the only component of that. Seems like not.
I agree, I think we need both.
Yeah, and I think this is more than just the alignment of the driveways, right? This is the eastbound and westbound traffic as well, so I don't want to limit it to just that.
Agree.
But I do understand what, Jim, what you're saying as well, that, there's not going to be a lot of traffic generated here, so maybe that piece isn't needed. So I don't know where the compromise is here.
Right.
Janet has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
I know it's hard to see everybody.
Hi, I think all the traffic counts have already been done. Jim, you can confirm that, and Nicole, we did that early on. Scott Charpentier and Parr did a migrated count, right? So that was already done. That piece
Yeah,
that's
there have
already
been some
done.
counts done. Yeah.
That's already done. So I just want to let everybody know that.
Central Mass Regional Planning actually came in and redid it because they wanted it bigger. If I recall the scope of
Yep.
the initial. So they redid a larger one, time-wise.
Yes, it's that part, so that portion is done.
Yep.
And Jim was right in that the fire trucks do not add to the traffic. So we'll have to define this traffic, this limited or whatever traffic study. I'll talk to Scott Charpentier from the town because he's the one who was working on this originally, or the conceptual part of it. And then I'll talk to PAR's Jim Jackson and their traffic engineers to determine what they need to be doing. And then we'll put in the a proposal for what this is going to cost the town to do this work. So, it's all part of the process. So thank you.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. All right, so maybe there's a midway point there that just helps us give us the data we need to kind of make some decisions there, but doesn't necessarily have to be the, extensive, however it'd normally be run. I'm not sure, but.
And it would be good to get, documentation from an expert saying, this is the traffic, this is the impact, this is the driveway assessment, just so we know, have some data to look at to base our decision on.
Yeah, I think that's all we're looking for. Okay. So it sounds like overall, we do need a couple of things before we can obviously close the hearing. I don't think I think what we're waiting for would make it hard to vote on this tonight. Are members prepared to vote, or I don't think,
I'm not.
Not without the traffic impact.
okay, so unless there are any further comments, we should plan to continue. And just to clarify what we're waiting on, it looks like three things that I have, and then let me know if anyone has additional. Just confirmation from Fred on whether it's construction or building permit. Occupancy, I'm sorry. DPW, just that letter on snow removal. I'm sorry, four things. The height of the snow, I'm sorry, what did you call them? Protectors, the snow protectors there, or buffers, and then the traffic impact. What kind of study should we be considering for that? So I have those four outstanding items. Are there anything, did I miss something?
Nothing that I have in my notes.
Okay, so with that, when do you think is a reasonable, so our next meeting is June 4th. But I'm not sure if that's a tight turn for you guys, so you'll have to weigh in a little bit on what would work for the applicant.
I can say that I've got a bunch of people just to get an analysis done of this sort could take a while. A while. We will continue. I mean, I'll speak to PAR immediately, and well, they know it. They've been listening to, and they can talk to their engineers. We'll have to talk to the town about whatever, and then we'll have to talk to the building committee about funding this. And so we can't do the work without a formal signed contract from the town, or in addition to our scope of work. So I'll have to do all that, get that all in line. So I don't doubt that the June 4th is going to happen unless somebody's got some miracle work in here for a schedule.
Well, one thing, Janet,
Yeah.
one thing I want to say is, could we come back at the June 4th meeting with a scope of the traffic study and then get it approved as an order of conditions that they do that
Yeah.
scope? That way we have
That's
some
it.
time to do the actual report.
Right. Yeah, that's another good idea.
Okay, is that your preference?
Do you think you'd be able to vote on without the report being completed? That's the question. Right, Jim?
Yeah, with the skip, just vote on the scope as an order of condition.
Yeah.
Board members' thoughts on that?
It would depend on the condition. Like if there was a condition, like Lori said, they come back to us when it's done for review. But I don't know how, but I have seen it in other decisions in other towns that when something's done, it goes back to the planning board. But I don't know if Lori has ideas on how that would be drafted in a decision.
Laura,
Yeah,
you
like I
think-
said, it would just be, prior to construction activities, you will supply this analysis for planning board review and approval.
And approval, okay.
And then what if we didn't approve it? Like, I'm assuming we will. I'm not trying to like throw out a scare. But say there was something like where the traffic study came back and said, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Then what happens?
Right, if
So
they
then
make
there's the
recommendations,
condition that's requiring them to address all outstanding comments. So they would have to modify the site plan.
Okay.
The question for Janet, maybe. Janet, you have any idea what the cost of this kind of study would be for traffic study?
No, I know that the original traffic study, which was through the DOT, was up in more than $50,000. So we have to see what this modified one is worth, and then we'll also at the same time, PAR will probably give us a laundry list of things that they have to do. Like we have to get the new survey. We'll have to set up to get a surveyor. That could, I don't know. It's a busy time for surveyors, but we'd have to get the surveyor to come back on, and then they'd have to design the engineering for the sidewalks too. So that would have to be approved as an extra service as well, because that's outside our scope. I think those are the two main things. Amy, you can jump in if there's other things, but we'll have to look at that. So we'll have to do that, and then PAR will have to schedule it. So there's, there's money involved. So we'd have to go back to the plan, the committee, and then I
well,
don't
I
know where they
mean, are
come up
there
with the
other
money.
things, so safety is obviously a huge concern. Are there other things that could be cut that maybe aren't as important as safety in this project? So maybe go take a look at if there are any bells and whistles that we can cut and instead do work on some safety. Like, is that a better, like, how can we balance the cost rather than just add? Like, can we figure out a way to balance it a little bit?
The money we're talking now, Kurt, was voted on back in 2019.
Which-
There's no other, that's the money we're using now for the design, for the land purchase, for the OPM. It's all the same funds that were voted on back in 2019. We're not talking about money for any of that yet.
Oh, like the future one? So it's just the original amount?
This is the original 3.5 million that was set aside by the town to cover all these costs. Yep.
Oh, okay, so the design costs, things like that. I got you.
Everything is coming from the same pot. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've already spent that, basically, is what you're saying, is we've spent the 3.5, so this is an additional on top of that.
I have to talk to our owner's project manager and see what's left of, because we've signed a contract with the owner's project. The architect, right? We've purchased the land, we've done some legal stuff.
Got it.
So I don't know exactly what we have left. I have to talk to Colliers and see what we have in there. My guess is it's going to be getting close, but I don't know. I'm speculating.
That's
I have to
okay.
talk
That's good. That's a good clarification.
Yeah, so I have to talk. I will have to talk to Tim tomorrow.
And
Okay.
Carrie, I don't know the amount. I mean, it's, every one of these things is different, so I really don't know. We have to get the multiple people to get numbers up from it. So I hate to, I don't want to scare anybody, but I'm just giving you an example. So we're going to continue working on the project, moving along, because we're moving into construction documents in the next 2 weeks. So we're going to continue on. The building's not going to move. It's not going to go away. So we're going to, continue down that pathway. Civil engineering is at a point where they may have to stop doing some things. I don't know. I'll speak to them about that as
Okay.
well. So
So, obviously with a budget, we have 3.5 for this design period, and I imagine someone's in charge of like, counting all the beans. So that's Tim, you said?
So with any municipal project, we hire an owner's project. Colliers.
Oh, you cut out.
Colliers oversees all the project that's going on,
Okay.
including our budget, and we're in communication with them on a weekly basis. So we're tracking it as well. So we're both tracking it, but I don't happen to have it on it.
Okay, so we just don't know how much we've spent so far. Like, there's no
No.
weekly report like you've spent this to date.
I will speak with Tim tomorrow. I will get exact idea of where we are, and I can send something out to you guys to let you know if you'd like Madam Chair can you or whatever.
Got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
Carrie,
When
Yeah,
they
I
do come
mean,
up with the costs, can you like break it down? Like, this is the traffic study and this would be the sidewalk design, so we know.
oh, yes.
Not
Oh,
just one big
absolutely.
lump sum.
Oh, absolutely. That's how these are called supplemental services to the main contract, and they're all split into the pieces. This is the cost to do, the geotechnical work. And we also have, just so everybody knows, we have other and added costs to the project that have to come out of that pot. The chief did mention that have nothing to do with the site itself, but have to do with engineering, mechanical engineering. So, there's even less money available. Can I ask a question, getting back to the date? Do you think
Sure.
that June 4th would allow that to happen? If not, I want to pick a date. I don't want to get off your schedule. So, I want to be able to be, there,
Well,
because we're trying to keep the project moving.
yeah, sure. So you know what applicants have done in the past, is we still motion to continue to that day. And if something happens and you just want to like ask for a continuance, we'll just read that night and just vote to continue to the next time. So
Okay.
we can
Okay.
leave it. It's best to book it, I think. I don't know, Lori, do you
Yeah.
disagree? It's probably best to
I
book.
agree. If there's a possibility that you will be ready on June 4th, I would book it for June 4th, and if worse comes to worse, you can ask for
Okay.
continuance.
Okay, Jim, if that's okay with you guys, Nicole, you're doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good with us. That's great.
Okay.
Send
All
do
right.
June 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, put us on, book us for the June 4th.
Okay, so why don't we, is there a motion to continue the public hearing for 6165 West Main Street to June 4th at 6? Hold on one second. Lori, do you think we're gonna need time before the meeting on June 4th? Based on a possible executive
Um,
session or
Well,
without?
of course, we are looking for a date for an executive session. So the court date is June 2nd. So ideally, his preference is that we meet an executive session prior to June 2nd. If that is impossible, then he will have to ask the court for continuance.
Okay, so should we motion to do this at 6 or? I guess it doesn't matter because if we're running late, it's better to be earlier than have a later time and have to wait. So 6 is probably the best time.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, so back to the motion. Is there a motion to continue the public hearing for 61 and 65 West Main Street to 6 p.m. on June 4th?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all in favor, Bill,
aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Carries an eye. Okay, great. So we're going to continue the hearing until June 4th. And if something comes up, and you can always submit a letter to Lori to continue, or request to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Hi,
great.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have A&Rs, lot releases and bonds. Anything there?
Nothing.
Oh, I wondered, you called it out separately, so I wondered if there was.
I think it's just a change to the layout of the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay, going to old business, we start with election of officers. So Anthony and I are back after the last election, so here we are. And when we do that, we usually do an election. So we need to elect a chair and vice chair. I don't think we ever do, we don't typically do a secretary or clerk or anything.
No, but I want to nominate you, Carrie, for chair of the planning board. I think you've done a great job and I'd like to see you continue.
I second.
Okay, other nominations? Okay, all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Millie,
Aye.
and Carrie's an aye. Thank you. That's nice. That's nice to hear. I do enjoy it actually.
I was gonna say, you don't look super excited. I'm just.
You're
I was
like-
gonna say the
you're
same
like,
thing.
I know that, I'm
Okay,
sorry. I know that looked like a hostage video, and I'm sorry.
like, okay,
Want to nominate you fast before you had time to think about it.
I know.
Nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Amy Paretsky for vice.
Is there a second?
What was that?
Amy for vice?
Oh, second?
Okay, other nominations on the floor? Okay, all in favor, Bill?
Aye.
Anthony? Anthony?
Aye.
He was having second thoughts.
Amy?
I.
And Millie?
Aye.
And Carrie's an aye. Okay, Laura, you didn't put on here, sometimes we usually, is it now? We usually talk about our committees. We can do that next time. We usually like regroup on our committees.
Yeah, let's do that next time if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine. So be thinking about, what do we have left for committees now? There's not groundwater, so we have CPC,
Mhm.
CMRPC, open space,
Design review.
design review.
MPIC.
Is that if we do an official?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting. We've never put that in the rotation. Oh, or have we? I can't remember now. MPIC. What else do we have? I mean, we have delegations and a couple, well, traffic and safety, is that, we have a, not, Bill, you're our person on
Yeah,
that.
traffic safety, yeah.
Okay. So, anything else? I think that's
MRPC rep.
the CMRPC.
CMRPC rep, sorry.
Yep, I have that one. Okay, so the only one this year that's different is groundwater. We no longer have groundwater. Anything else? Who did we just put on a committee? Bill, I feel like it was you. It wasn't traffic.
Financial planning, but that was just it was just a representative. It didn't have to be
Oh,
a
okay.
planning board member.
Got it. Okay. All right, so we'll do that next time. Laura, you have discussion of support letters for Route 9 sewer extension projects and White Cliffs project.
Right now, I only need the White Cliffs project. I went before the select board last night, and they were not supportive of the sewer extension grant. So I will not be applying for that.
Okay.
So the only application that I'm hoping that you folks will provide a review letter is White Cliffs. So this is a pre-development grant with the underutilized properties program. So it's through Mass Development. The grant application is due on June 5th. What I'm seeking funding for, it's a little bit shy of $75,000. And that would pay for architectural services to demolish the 1960s additions and figure out a way to button up the resulting holes in a temporary manner until we figure out what to do with the building long term. So this would be a step forward, certainly, and it would not impede whatever use the town is interested in going forward with. So my plan is to apply for this grant this year, which will set the stage for a second grant next year. That would be for construction services. That would be $1 million grant. And ideally, I would like to pay for the demolition of those additions as well as environmental mitigation. So there are a number of environmental hazards on site, such as lead paint. Of course, the mold and the mildew problem. There's a fuel storage tank. So we could start chipping away at those environmental hazards. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to address those now when we still have those additions wreaking havoc on the historic mansion. So in addition to the $1 million grant, I am interested in applying to CPC for a match, probably in the neighborhood of $250,000. It will enhance our application, make our application more competitive to mass development. So I think that that would be a good move. And it would also enable us to do more for $1.25 million instead of just the 1 million.
Board questions on that? Or thoughts, comments?
Sounds good to me.
I agree.
Yes. Sounds like a nice multi-step plan here. So so there's a letter, Lori drafted a letter. I think she attached it and sent it to the board. Did everyone have a chance to read the letter?
Actually, I'm going to give Amy credit for that. She drafted it.
Okay, Amy drafted the letter. I didn't have to do anything and I just had to put my name at the end. So thank you, everybody. Okay, so is there a motion? What do you need a motion to endorse or support?
Yeah, to support the application and endorse the letter of support.
Okay, is there a motion to support the grant for the underutilized properties program and endorse the letter of support that will be a part of the grant application?
So moved.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy?
Hi.
Carries an aye, so that's great. That's exciting. How long does it take to hear back, Laura? You said the application's due June 5th. When do you usually hear back?
It's a long process. Unfortunately, they make us wait for a lot longer than they give us to actually apply for the grant money. So I anticipate a response anywhere between October and December. It really does vary.
Wow. Okay. All right. We are to discuss the planning board meeting schedule for June, July, August, and then we also have the issue of executive session. So why don't we start with executive session since that's coming in June? So it sounded like he may be able to ask for a extension. The Attorney Eichman can ask for an extension. Is that the case or?
Yeah, that was my interpretation from reading his email.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I personally cannot make it next week. Amy can't make it next week. You have the ZBA that night,
I do.
so I don't know. Bill, you're okay next week?
Yeah, except for Monday and Wednesday, but yes.
Okay, and Anthony, your schedule was,
I'm good.
all right, and Millie, your schedule.
I'm good.
So I mean, worst case, if we can't get an extension, I suppose we could try for something, but Lori, how does that work with you at ZBA? What will you miss it or?
So my ZBA meeting is going to be in person on the 28th. So that means I have to hang out. So if you folks wanted to meet after work, like anywhere between say 5 and 6 or 5 and 6:30, then I would be available to do that. And then of course, I'm gonna have to move on, transition into the ZBA.
Okay, so let's see.
I hate to miss it because we've been part of it from the beginning, and I thought, I don't know, but next week is like the only week. I made plans because for the whole week. My daughter's only here once a year, and she's here next week, so I would hate to miss it.
No, it is very last minute that he's asking for this meeting, so I can't imagine that they're gonna say no, especially if we're making forward progress.
Okay, is it possible for him then to try to get the further extension? It sounds like we're not too far off, so
Oh, especially if I tell them that we can meet June 4th, so.
yeah, we have an actual date. We're not just kicking the can.
Right.
Should we do it 5 o'clock June 4th, or is that hard for everybody? If he can do it.
I mean, that's fine.
I can do it.
fine with me.
Sure.
With me.
Okay, well, that's good because we just booked a hearing at 6 anyway.
Right? That's why I was thinking of it. I'd rather go earlier than later.
Okay, so if we could propose June 4th at 5 p.m., that would be great. And we'll just need Dana for your team to help us get that second webinar link set up. Okay, schedule for June, July, August. What are you thinking there, Lori? Is it last year we tried to consolidate to one meeting a month? Is that what you're hoping?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I have no applications.
Okay,
So we have this issue that we've already talked about with the fire station, and then we have the executive session. And that's all that we have. We will eventually have a site plan review and special permit application if they're able to get approval for dimensional variance from the ZBA. That public hearing is next week. So that's a duplex on Hudson. So that's something that's coming down the pike. I'm not quite sure when they'll be filing. They have not yet filed with the planning board.
okay,
So I do have some vacation time.
sure. What do you got?
So I am on vacation the second week of July, so that doesn't affect you at all. But I am also on vacation the first full week of August, so that would be a planning board date.
Okay, what if we did our what were the first and third? What if we did our third meeting, the third week meeting, and skipped the first week meeting? Do you know what I mean? So like
So we
instead
do
of,
July 16th
yeah,
and then August 20th.
that's right. Does that work for people?
That works for me because I wouldn't be here that first week either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, the wild card is June because we did just book our June 4th. And there's nothing else coming up in June?
Now, why don't we see what happens on June 4th? See if they're
Okay.
ready to go forward. And if they're ready to go forward, then maybe we won't need the second meeting in June. But if they're not ready, then clearly we will need it.
So what we can do too, and we did it and we've done in the past, is if we literally only have to vote on a continuance on June 4th, and there's nothing else, no other business, we just need 3 members. We just need a quorum to show up and motion and vote yes on the continuance. So if, you know, we could always try that too.
Well, we will also have the executive session, hopefully. So we
Oh,
should
you're
have
right,
that
you're right,
matter
you're right, you're
to
right.
deal with anyway.
That's true. Okay. So that doesn't, so maybe we end up with 2 in June and which we probably planned on anyway, but July and August, that'll be a little bit of a breather if we don't have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great. Okay, anything else on that, Lori?
Nothing.
All right, next ZBA meeting is the 28th. Sounds like you have a dimensional variance coming up. Anything else there going on?
Yeah, the other one is kind of a peculiar case. There was a dimensional variance granted for a carport. And then they went ahead and built the carport, but they built it without any building permits. And so then the variance expired. So now they have to pretty much get the variance. It's kind of a forgiveness variance since the carport is already built.
Mhm. Okay,
Hmm.
well, that stinks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
That's fine.
unfortunate.
Okay. And then Master Plan Implementation Committee is May 23rd, so that is this week. That's great. Are those in person now? Are those in person?
No.
Yeah, still. All right, then if there is no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a
moved.
motion to adjourn?
Second,
Second,
all in favor, Bill,
aye.
Anthony,
aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
and Carrie's an aye. Have a great night. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
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 Couldn't figure out how to log off with my new thing.